Ask your grandma what day this is.
Grandma, what day is this? Over there. And we can't tell.
Oh, hello. This is
November,
Friday, the day after Thanksgiving,
November 24th,
November 24th. And we are
1990.
we're now at the mall. We're looking at the pets.
This is the Berkshire Mall.
This is the Berkshire Mall. Pretty soon we're going to go
And
see
there's dogs.
Santa Claus.
And there.
Located 2 hours from Philadelphia, Wyomissing is a suburb of the city of Reading, Pennsylvania. Beginning in the 1950s, more residents began to move out from the city to Wyomissing and the rest of Berks County, leading to development beginning in 1967 on what would become Eastern Pennsylvania's first enclosed shopping center outside of Philadelphia. 3 years later, the 910,000 square foot $25 million mall would open. Over the years, the mall has made headlines for elaborate holiday celebrations, robberies, a fountain mishap, and would even be talked about in a song by area native Taylor Swift. Through it all, the Berkshire Mall has retained its vintage 70s and 80s charm. But as the over 55-year-old property ages, concerns about its structural integrity have jeopardized this beautiful retro shopping center. If you know our own road, you know we value our privacy. In our personal life, it's not always easy to maintain. Whether we know it or not, sites will mine our data like full name, email, health records, and more, which they will sell to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who wants to snoop. That's why we started using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows us which data brokers are selling our personal information and automatically submits opt-out requests on our behalf. This not only reduces the amount of spam you'll get, but protects against hackers who can use this information to gain access to our social media, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also provides a ton of other features bundled into one easy-to-use app at an affordable price. You get antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without needing to bother with different apps. We all have one or more of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. And if you're a regular viewer, you'll know how often that happens. Like 24-hour security, motion sensors, and guard dogs, Aura is always on, doing the hard work of keeping my info safe so I can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. Relaxing. theruinroad values our privacy, and we also value yours. Go to aura.com/ruinroad to start a free 2-week trial, also linked below in the description. When construction began in 1968, a celebration was held at a local hotel, and then Pennsylvania Governor Raymond Schaefer would fly in to attend as the 200 partygoers watched via live feed while hired models toasted them from the construction site, then smashing their champagne glasses into the hole where the first foundational concrete would be poured. Originally intended to open fall 1969, it would not be until February 10, 1970 when the first 50 or so stores would open at Berkshire, though it did not appear there were any opening festivities. Less than 2 weeks after opening, a car in the parking lot would explode, killing its occupant, which would be attributed to the man's cigarette somehow igniting the gas tank. Over the next year, more stores would continue to open until April 1971, when all 76 stores were fully open for their official opening date. For their first year anniversary, a Hot Wheels Championship Derby was held at the mall on a specially created 100-foot racetrack, while professional race car drivers made appearances, with the grand prize winner of the Derby receiving an all-expenses-paid trip to the National Hot Wheels Championship in Saginaw, Michigan. Mall owners Goodman Company also announced that they would be building an additional 15,000 square foot section onto the mall, along with Berkshire Mall West, a 13-store strip mall plaza across the street. The mall would promote their Enchanted Toyland celebration for the 1971 holiday season, which saw the concourse decorated with 12-foot-tall nutcrackers, a train station built atop the fountain, nativity scene, and Santa Claus arriving via fire truck to what was said to be one of the best Christmas displays in the region. While they would hold a circus for their official April 1972 anniversary, they also held a Gay 90s celebration in February that year as a throwback with barbershop quartets, carnival barkers, and free silent movie showings. It was about this time that the new second-floor expansion would open just behind the now-gone center court fountain, which featured a custom-designed water display. The upstairs expansion was designed to look like an 18th-century Victorian village, named Lamp Post Lane, and featured the John Davis House restaurant atop it. For the 1973 holiday season, Santa would arrive via helicopter before he would board the train built yet again on the center court fountain. In January the following year, the mall held another throwback celebration, this time called the Remember When sale, that saw another barbershop quartet concert. In 1974, the Berkshire Mall branch of the National Central Bank received a phone call that a bomb had been left in a briefcase in their lobby, and the caller demanded $50,000 delivered to a phone booth outside the mall. The bank manager had managed to alert security, who was able to take photographs of the man that collected the briefcase, but he's never been identified. A contest for children was held during the 1974 presidential election, where 200 winners that completed a short 125-word essay on why they elected to shop at Berkshire Mall would win tickets to the Philadelphia 76ers baseball game versus the Boston Celtics. Santa must have had enough theatrics for that year's holiday season, choosing to arrive this time by simply riding down the center food court elevator, though the first 1,000 children to visit would receive free candy boxes. 1975 was the first year that a number of annual holiday traditions began. First, with a Memorial Day celebration releasing thousands of balloons into the air. Children were allowed to write their names on those balloons, with the person whose balloon was found the furthest away by July 4th receiving a plaque. That holiday season would be the first where Santa would arrive by sliding down a fake chimney that had been built from the second to first floors, along with a contest where ornaments featuring the Berkshire Mall butterfly logo on them were hidden around the mall, and whoever would guess the correct total amount of butterflies won a prize. That year would also see the Litt brothers anchor leave, but Pomeroy would fill it immediately. In 1976, Berkshire Mall continued its anniversary celebrations around whatever time they really wanted, this time celebrating in November with marionette, fashion, and ballet shows, along with a live radio show broadcast and Santa arriving down the chimney again. In February that year, police believe the same robber who would hold up at least 2 stores in the area would rob 2 women in the parking lot here, knocking one down before he was chased by mall shoppers until he pulled a gun on them. In 1979, after a multiple-year discussion, stores at the Berkshire Mall would open on Sundays, as across the nation more places were opening for business on that day. But on only the second week that the mall was open, a robber would hold up the Sears building here and shoot the guard in his escape. After his getaway driver fled without him, police would surround David Rucker in the nearby woods, at which time he would shoot himself in the mouth. Miraculously, he survived, and would be charged with 3 other nearby Sears robberies over the past 2 years, during one of which he would fatally shoot another guard. Rucker would receive a life sentence in 1980, but die as a result of his head injuries the following year. By this time, events at the mall had toned down their extravagance, with the largest annual event being a car show. In 1981, the Fairground Square Mall would open just 4 miles away, and would be the first regional competition for Berkshire. Though Fairground would begin to struggle in the millennium and finally close in 2018. Berkshire Mall remained busy but quiet throughout most of the decade until 1988, when a drug bust would net 32 different arrests inside the mall over a 6-month stakeout. In August that year, the state would also catch the Schenck & Tuttle sporting goods store at the mall advertising sales that were actually full price on their items. In December 1989, the mall would undergo its seemingly only renovation, removing the center court fountain and the creation of the Terrace Cafe in place of Lamp Post Lane on the 2nd floor. The grand opening of the food court featured jugglers, clowns, mimes, and Santa Claus handing out free candy, while every $10 purchased at one of the first 7 open restaurants would get an entry into a gift drawing and a free coffee mug. Into the 90s, the cafe would become the focal point for events at the mall, with a food fair taking place August 1990, where whoever presented the highest amount of food receipts from the terrace receiving a free Nintendo Game Boy, along with Harvey Rosen holding a signing of his book How to Garnish and performing, quote, garnishing feats to visitors. The terrace would also hold children's holiday events in the beautiful neon atmosphere, such as Supper with Santa for Christmas and Breakfast with the Bunny for Easter, which would occur into the early millennium. The TV show America's Funniest People would hold tryouts in Berkshire Mall in 1991, as one of the producers was a Wyomissing native. After a girl was unable to perform a song as planned, her father would perform an impromptu stand-up routine that was said to be a highlight, but he was ultimately not selected for the show. An annual baseball card show would begin around this time, which would bring in different Philadelphia Phillies players for autographs each year, and by 1996 had grown to feature all sports cards and collectibles. In 1992, a group of skinheads would be arrested after they beat an unspecified minority teenager with a cane, and in response, the mall would immediately replace and increase their security guard presence. A Bonton security guard would make headlines in 1994 when he would claim he chased an African American woman into a service hallway for shoplifting, where she stabbed him. The following year, as he was being convicted of credit card fraud, he would also confess that he had stabbed himself as a ploy to gain sympathy from his wife, who was divorcing him. In 1995, when all Wanamaker's department stores were being rebranded to Hex, the chain's iconic metal statues were removed from the entrances to their stores, and the smaller eagle here was given to the Reading Public Library, while the large eagle was donated to the Hawk Mountain Bird Sanctuary some 20 miles north in Kempton, where it still resides today. Best-selling author Tom Clancy would hold a book signing at the Walden Books in this mall in 1997, alongside his co-author General Fred Franks Jr. for their new nonfiction book they just released, titled Into the Storm, A Study in Command. Boscov's would purchase the Hex Anchor at Berkshire in 2002, closing their nearby standalone Sinking Spring location, which at that time was the smallest and oldest store in the company's portfolio. Around this time is when the perhaps most famous shopper at the mall would have an incident at Berkshire that would become part of the basis for her 2008 song, Best Day. Just a year before they moved to Tennessee in 2004, Reading-born native Taylor Swift would ask her friends if they would like to spend a day at Berkshire Mall with her. But when they all declined, she went with her mother, where she saw those very same friends inside the Victoria's Secret.
My mom and I went to the mall, and I had asked all my friends to go with me that day. I was like, so I want to go to the mall. Do you guys want to go to the mall? And they're like, no, I'm busy. No, I'm busy. No, I'm busy. No, my mom says I can't go. And so I'm like, okay, well, Mom, let's go to the mall. And so we get there, and we run into all of the friends that I had called to go to the mall, and they were all there together without me.
Seeing her daughter was about to cry, Andrea Swift turned them around and drove an hour away to the King of Prussia Mall, saying she didn't need to be around such so-called friends. 3 years later, one of the first nurse-ins would be held inside Berkshire Mall after a woman was threatened with arrest when she refused to cover up or go out into the winter weather to breastfeed her baby.
Well, this afternoon, dozens of mothers turned a Berks County mall into a nursing center. It was all to protest the treatment of Lee Bellini last weekend. While breastfeeding her child, Bellini was asked to cover up or leave. Since then, she shared her story with us and then helped organize this nurse-in at the Berkshire Mall.
I wasn't expecting a call back from a single person after my story went out, so this is just wonderful.
The point we're making is that it was absolutely ludicrous and indecent for anybody to ask a mother to stop feeding her baby.
The first highly publicized pro-breastfeeding protest had occurred 2 years earlier in 2005 in front of the ABC television studios after Barbara Walters spoke on The View about being uncomfortable when a woman on an airplane began breastfeeding beside her. In 2009, a fire would break out in the Victoria's Secret display window, but was contained before spreading. Well, the following year, one employee would suffer severe burns when a fire erupted in Boscov's. That same year, police received a tip that a man matching the surveillance footage of someone who had robbed a local bank the day prior was shopping inside the mall. Police would stake out his stolen vehicle. The cops would make several serious blunders in this case. Firstly, they had arrested another man for the crime who would be found innocent. Next, as Aldous Diaz exited the mall, he noticed the police watching his vehicle and ran back inside. Police released their canine unit to stop him, but one officer forgot to follow protocol that when the dog is released, all others are to stop running so the animal knows who to bite. As they fought to stop the canine from biting that officer, Diaz would be tackled inside by a phone store employee who had witnessed the chase. Berkshire Mall found itself the focus of national headlines in 2011 when a Boscov security guard uploaded footage to YouTube of a woman falling into the fountain while she was walking and texting.
Well, there's video that's become an instant hit on YouTube, almost 2 million hits as of now. A woman is at the mall texting someone, doesn't notice the giant fountain right in front of her, topples right in. Fortunately, she wasn't hurt, at least not physically. But now she's speaking out, and guess what? She's not very happy.
The humiliation. You know, I asked my husband, I cried for days. You don't know how many people are laughing at. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. It could have been somebody, I could have been walking into a bus, a car, a ditch, anything. Texting and walking, take it from me. It's dangerous. It really is.
What she's most upset about is that this video has been posted online and she feels like a lot of people are laughing at her, and she's actually hired an attorney at this point because she feels security should have done more.
Well, what
security should have done more, like actually escort her through the mall by walking her the entire way.
Security can't do anything. I could understand her feeling humiliated, but take it from people who are on television. We have to laugh it off all the time. It's the only way you can sort of live to see another day.
The security guard would be fired for leaking the footage, which got over 2 million views. While the next year, the texter would be arrested for using a stolen credit card at the Fairgrounds Square Mall. The Zales store at Berkshire would be robbed of over $100,000 of rings that year in January 2012 after two people distracted the clerk while a third slipped over 40 rings onto their fingers and walked off. The mall's skylights would shatter in May 2014 when the region was hit by a freak hailstorm, with a golf ball-sized hail denting cars in the parking lot, and even forcing an airplane to make an emergency landing when the hail cracked its windshield. Another robbery would occur in 2017, when 5 people filled garbage bags full of lingerie from Victoria's Secret while threatening to pepper spray the workers, but were caught when they crashed their getaway vehicle. The group being charged with hitting a string of other Victoria's Secrets in the area and having stolen over $300,000 worth of merchandise. 1 year later, the mall would find itself in trouble when both Bon-Ton and Sears would close within 6 months of each other, leaving Boscov's as the sole anchor. And in 2020, Namdar Realty would purchase the Berkshire Mall.
Obviously, we share everybody's disappointment, but it is unfortunately what's happening in retail these days.
Bon-Ton, a household name for decades, will close its store at the Berkshire Mall in Wyomissing for good.
We certainly understand the challenges that they're facing, principally through the internet, and we want to make sure that we don't go the way of malls that become dilapidated and shuttered and so on.
Mall officials say they're in the process of redeveloping the mall, and the mayor has some ideas.
I think the opportunity to add other things like offices, apartments above the retail kind of thing, so mixing some residential in, some freestanding restaurants, all those kind of things.
2 years later, the first issues of closing the struggling mall arose when it was discovered the vacant Bon-Ton anchor had a collapsing roof. More structural issues would be found, and on Black Friday weekend of 2024, Wyomissing officials ordered that several mall entrances be closed for safety reasons. Namdar would comply with the requested repairs, and has been given until spring 2025 to begin work. While most shoppers likely don't care about its vintage charm, something about Berkshire Mall fascinates people. From the quirky headlines, reminiscent songs, and it was even featured as a setting in the 2021 novel Don't Call Me Ishmael. In 1968, Berkshire Mall celebrated its first foundation being built with a party. 57 years later, let us hope that very foundation is not what forces this beautiful snapshot of a bygone era to close for good.
Yeah, the middle with the fountain. It's like that one's 100, that one's 50, this is 25. Did it? Okay. Yeah!